What's going on with y'all niggas? Is Jay. Today we are reacting to Shannon Sharp $50 million rape lawsuit. Heats up with X-rated text. Now y'all, if you do not know what happened with Unc, bro, basically he was talking to this girl, you know what I'm saying? She was 19 and she's basically trying to accuse him of sexual assault, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, those allegations are fake. I think that's what came out. The allegations were fake or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I just think it's kind of crazy like Unc, bro. You know what I'm saying? Unc is finna turn 60. You know what I'm saying? He's messing with somebody that's like 30 years younger than him, bro. You know, these young girls do not care about you, bro. All they care about is your money, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, these young girls don't care about him, bro. They just care about the bag. They're gonna try to secure that bag with him. You know what I'm saying? Unc set himself up for that failure, you know what I'm saying? Like, nigga, if you was married, bro, this shit would most likely not happen, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it's good to be settled down and to be married, bro. Because if you're just single, bro, you're just gonna be overly freaky. You know what I'm saying? And that shit could lead to, you know what I'm saying, lust leads to, you know, bad things, you know what I'm saying? Bad, like one wrong move with lust, bro, can determine 10 years of your life, 20 years of your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it's important. Y'all gotta stop watching porn. If you watch porn, you gotta stop watching porn. Y'all gotta stop being so lustful. You know what I'm saying? Because lust can ruin a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? But before I get started, make sure you do subscribe, like, and comment, y'all. Share this video with everybody, and we finna get straight into it.
Family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown.
We have a new public response, a new disturbing piece of audio, and new graphic text messages. The legal battle between NFL Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp and his sexual assault accuser definitely has intensified. As we go through these new developments, who's telling the truth about what really happened? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. A new legal war has begun, and this time it's between NFL Hall of Famer, podcaster, commentator Shannon Sharp and the woman who's accusing him of sexually assaulting and raping her as recently as January of this year. Now, we covered this earlier in the week, but now, not only has Shannon Sharp fired back in a major way, releasing a public message, a response, apparently revealing the identity of this Jane Doe, but he's also published never-before-seen apparent text messages between the two. Quite a response, to say the least. And then what happens? You think the story ends there? No. She fires back by releasing an apparent audio tape between her and Shannon Sharp.
Bro, I heard that audio of them, and to be honest, I think they were just role-playing, bro. Like, I don't think Shannon was telling her, you know what I'm saying, when I see you, I'm gonna choke you and, you know what I'm saying, do whatever. I don't think he meant, like, he's actually gonna, like, abuse her, bro. How it sounded in that recording, bro, it sounded like that's how they talk. Like, it doesn't sound like anything new. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like that's how they role play. And I've been seeing, bro, Unc, bro, you know, this, you know, Shannon, he's just always, he's a freaky ass nigga, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, the shit that I be seeing of him in all these clips, bro, like, bro is super freaky. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I guess he's just into some shit, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, bro. I think it's role playing. I think they were role playing. I could be wrong, but like,
This has crossed to a whole different kind of level, and I want to get into what we're seeing right now. We're going to break it down, but first, let's take a step back. Let's learn a little bit more about the backstory, what's happening here. So, we have 56-year-old Shannon Sharp, who has been sued by an unidentified woman. She's going by the pseudonym Jane Doe, and she is suing him for $50 million in Nevada.
$50 million is just crazy word.
After meeting Shannon Sharp at the gym back in 2023 and beginning a consensual relationship with him, who, by the way, she claims is 30 years older than her, it escalated into him allegedly insisting they record their sexual activity, sometimes without her knowledge, him sharing those videos with others, him allegedly telling her that he would do things to her that, quote, would make no other man want her, that he allegedly manipulated her, controlled her, threatened her, intimidated her, was able to gain access to her apartment complex without her permission. For example,
I just feel like with a lot of like rich men, a lot of older rich men, I feel like they like younger women because it's easier to manipulate a young woman versus like a older woman. Like, you could it's more easy for a man to have control over somebody way younger than them than it is for them to control somebody that's like around the same age or older than them. That's what I think. You know what I'm saying? If a nigga 60, bro, he shouldn't be wanting to talk to a 19-year-old. Like, bro, what do you have in common with a 19-year-old girl? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not illegal, you know what I'm saying? But it's just the fact, like, you know, I look at it like from a moral standpoint, bro. Like, that's not morally right. Like, I wouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? No man should be comfortable at that age, you know what I'm saying, to want to fuck with somebody that's 30 years younger than them, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's not illegal, but it's like, dude, he's, you know what I'm saying, that freaky shit, you know what I'm saying? That lustful energy, bro.
This is from the lawsuit. It reads, "The verbal abuse never stopped. He would berate and degrade plaintiff, just as he had from the beginning. One time specifically, he was yelling at her while there was a firearm visible in his room. Terrified for her safety, plaintiff tried sharing her location with friends from her iPhone just in case. But Sharp saw her doing this."
Heard a lot.
You set yourself up for this, bro. You know what I'm saying? She's way younger than you, bro. Of course, she's only there for the money, bro. Like, she can't relate to you with anything, bro. And like, he had to have known this, bro, or he must have been delusional. He must have thought you know what I'm saying, she was being genuine, or whatever the situation is, bro. You know, like, it's just crazy.
To stop as this was purportedly going on. So she has sued him for assault, sectioned Jane Doe in a now defunct sexual assault lawsuit against Jay-Z. He represents several accusers in actions against Sean Diddy Combs as well. But as I mentioned, Shannon Sharp has responded. This is what we want to get into. And let me tell you.
And like, just that one mistake with lust, bro, think about it like this. He could potentially lose $50 million. You know what I'm saying? He might have probably lost his job at ESPN, or he could potentially lose that job because of everything that's happening. He could probably lose endorsements from this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so much from that one decision that, like, you know what I'm saying, that probably most likely fucked up his life in some type of way. You never know, like,
at stake in this case.
50
right?
million.
Money? Actually, how about getting money back? Let me tell you about Upside. Upside is fantastic. It is a free app that gets you cash. This isn't right, and he says that this whole thing is being orchestrated by Tony Busby.
Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media.
And he goes on to say that the encounter in question took place during the day at the invitation of Jane Doe, says that this was all a deliberate setup by her. He also, by the way, revealed her first name, and apparently her name that she purportedly uses on OnlyFans. We're not going to...
OnlyFans is just crazy,
We're
bro.
not going to do that.
Like, Unc, what did you expect? OnlyFans, 19.
I always do. And we also got a statement from his attorney, Lonnie J. Davis, and that reads, "Mr. Sharp categorically denies all allegations of coercion or misconduct, especially the gross lie of rape, and will not submit to what he sees as an egregious attempt at blackmail. He stands firmly by the truth and is prepared to fight these false claims vigorously."
And on her part too, you know what I'm saying, she is way younger than him, but she still is old enough, you know what I'm saying, to take accountability. She is 19, you know what I'm saying. Even though Shannon was wrong for even messing with this little girl, you know what I'm saying, she still boasts on her part, you know what I'm saying, for lying about rape, you know what I'm saying. Lying about that shit, that's not something you lie about, you know what I'm saying. You don't say
in court. And Davis has also commented about that apparent tape that was seemingly referenced by Sharp, because he accuses Jane Doe of providing a, quote, secretly recorded and heavily edited video to them that purports to be a non-consensual encounter of some kind. But Davis claimed that Jane Doe, quote, has refused to provide a copy of the full unedited version of the recording to Mr. Sharp's legal team. And then there's this. Sharp and his legal team released all of these apparent text messages between him and this Jane Doe, reportedly 44 pages.
Okay, so he trying to prove himself innocent. He's showing, he trying to prove himself innocent. He's showing y'all, like, this what be happening. I'm not hiding nothing. You know what I'm saying? He's very confident, and, you know, so he's releasing everything, bro, you know.
There's one apparent message from October 2023 where Jane Doe seemingly messages Sharp, "I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're bleeping me." Now, the New York Post reporting on other messages allegedly
that's crazy.
Jane Doe, like, "Tie me up and do bad things to me. I know you missed this big juicy bleep, $25K for each cheek.
What?
Tie me up like this and bleep me," with Sharp replying, "If I knew how to, I would." She then allegedly wrote back, "It's okay, I have handcuffs. We can stick to those for now."
Bro, she's trying to set this nigga up, bro. Like the shit that she's saying and like everything, bro, you could just tell like she was trying to bait this nigga into some shit. She was definitely trying to bait this nigga Shannon.
Also allegedly writing, I want like some hardcore BDSM action though, and feeling kind of freaky lately. And then you have this apparent message from March 14th, 2024. I want to be abused, daddy. And then another message from last year where she apparently wrote him, I've always wanted a black baby. Now, Lonnie Davis...
Bro, after she said, I've always wanted a black baby, Shannon should have known to get the fuck up out that situation for sure. There is just, bro, how did you even get turned on by that? Like, that's crazy. Nigga, I would have been suspicious as hell, bro. I wouldn't have even, dude, how does that even turn you on, bro? I wouldn't have been turned on, bro. That's crazy.
Davis commented that, quote, the evidence paints a clear picture. This was a consensual adult relationship that included role-playing, sexual language, and fantasy scenarios.
Yo, okay.
So what happens then? Again, this is not the end of the story. Jane Doe ends up releasing an audio tape seemingly between her and Sharp. And I'm going to explain part of what is heard on this tape. We can't play it for legal reasons, but here is part of the exchange, and this part is key. Again,
set up.
Pauses, takes a minute, and says, well, I don't want to be choked. And Sharp replies, yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter. Now, to be clear, this tape may only be a portion of the entire conversation in audio, but this appears to be a...
Like, when you do listen to that and, like, you read the... You know what I'm saying? Like, when you do listen to that, bro, it does sound bad. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, bro, like, role-playing. You know what I'm saying? Like he said, bro, it was role-playing, but it does sound bad. You know what I'm saying? She was trying to bait that nigga because when you go and listen to that, bro, it sounds crazy. It does.
Portion, nonetheless. Jane Doe's attorney, again, Tony Busby, described this audio as, quote, the contents of this clip are certainly not sexual. They are not playful. They are instead disturbing, aggressive, and dangerous. This or the alleged assault. Okay, so now I want to bring on Mauricio Padilla, litigator, criminal defense attorney, to talk more about this. Mauricio, thanks so much for taking the time. Let's just start with the lawsuit and the allegations, suing for $50 million. Very graphic details about these multiple alleged sexual assaults and rapes. Your take just on the initial lawsuit and allegations.
I mean, my take on the initial lawsuit and allegations and the publicity that's come right after it. I mean, there's rules of ethics to prohibit people from trying their case in the media. And I think from the onset, both sides are engaging in releasing what could be evidence. And the rules of ethics from state to state vary, but they pretty much usually are concentrated on not releasing any information that could possibly affect a jury. And they're out there releasing pages and pages of text messages. They're out there releasing audio. It looks to me like both sides are engaged in trying to litigate this in the media before litigating it in a court of law.
But isn't that the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively effect, right? Isn't that what we're seeing now? It's the idea of let's battle this out on the court of public opinion, particularly, by the way, when you're dealing with such a public figure like Shannon Sharp. The idea of if I'm fighting this in a court of law, but I'm also fighting this in the court of public opinion, if I can put enough out there to try to reverse the narrative, maybe not only I'll still retain my fan base, my career, but also it puts pressure on Jane Doe maybe to stop the lawsuit, or maybe not, because she fired back too.
No, I'm not saying that you know they shouldn't do it, because unfortunately we live in a time where if you don't do that on behalf of your client, are you doing them a disservice? I'm just mentioning the fact that none of this is really allowed pursuant to the rules of ethics, but I understand why they're doing it, because nowadays pretty much the court of public opinion is dictating what happens in court in and of itself. Right. So it's just part of litigating cases nowadays.
Are you concerned by the content, the value of those text message conversations? Does it complicate this case? Let me rephrase. Putting aside, assuming these really are the real conversations and the real messages of Jane Doe, you could say, I mean, she's talking about BDSM, tying up, dog collars, choking, and then she accuses him.
Like I said, sounds like roleplay, bro.
Of sexual assault and being violent with her. Let me actually read you something from the lawsuit. Okay, so this is from the lawsuit. It says, a woman can say yes to consensual sexual relations with a man 99 times, but when she says no, even once, that no means no. Defendant Shannon Sharp, a man who is accustomed to getting what he wants, completely fails to understand this basic concept. After many months of manipulating and controlling plaintiff, a woman more than 30 years younger than he, and repeatedly threatening to brutally choke and violently slap her, Sharp refused to accept the answer no and raped plaintiff despite her sobbing and repeated screams of no.
That's
so
insane.
You look at those messages, are they irrelevant?
If you establish a pattern of, S&M, a pattern of voluntarily submitting yourself to someone, to accepting, violence, to accepting as part of the norm of your sex life.
Yeah, bro, because isn't she telling them to do these things? Like, the shit that I'm hearing, bro, is like, that's how they talk. This is like, isn't she telling him to tie her up, to do all that, like all that sexual ass shit?
Then obviously that's something that can be used because he's going to say, yeah, it was consensual. So when a jury's trying to analyze whether or not these acts of violence were consensual or not, they can obviously look to the history of the relationship and whether or not she's going to admit it. So now you put her on the stand and you're like, so you allowed him to choke you. You allowed him to hit you previously. And that was something that you guys engaged in, voluntary sexual behavior.
Yeah,
and you found
exactly.
it pleasurable. And you did it.
Want the fastest working GLP-1?
Yeah, like, exactly. Like, that's what I was just saying. Like, she's voluntarily doing this shit.
For half the price? Rome.
For the X amount of months, but then on this particular day, you told him no. So it's something that it's fruitful to bring up a trial. I think they would be doing them a disservice if they didn't explore that more. And yeah, ultimately, what Mr. Busby's saying is true. A woman can say yes 99 times and say no that 100th time, but the historical behavior of accepting violence as the norm in your bedroom and in your sex life is something that a jury can look at to determine whether or not she did in fact say no. Because he's going to say that she said yes. He's not going to admit that she said no, that he raped her.
No, I hear you. And I knew that he was going to get on the defensive. I mean, if you believe his side, right, that he's completely innocent, you get hit with this lawsuit, right? You want to defend yourself immediately. He goes out, he puts out this message on Instagram. Do you think he was advised by his lawyer to do so? Let's start there. And B, purportedly outing her, naming her name. Just the first name, and also what her apparent handle is or name on OnlyFans. Is that appropriate? Is that right? I mean, again, he's defending himself, but she filed this anonymously.
Right. Well, whether or not his attorney advised him to do it, if he took those steps without discussing it with his attorney should be very upset at him doing something of that nature. I don't think that an attorney can counsel their client to disclose the identity of a victim in a sex case. So I don't think that his attorney would ever admit to taking those steps simply because there's laws to protect victims in sex crimes. But I understand why it's beneficial to his defense. I'm putting it out there. I'm saying who you are. I'm saying that you're an OnlyFans person. I'm saying that we were engaged in this voluntary sexual behavior where you possibly accepted money to do sexual things on camera or do sexual things for me. So it definitely benefits his defense in letting people know, listen, this is not the person that Busby's saying that it is. This is the person that I'm telling you who she is. So I think it's beneficial.
And to reverse it, I said this when I covered it earlier in the week, this lawsuit being filed by Tony Busby, he's got crosshairs on him right now. He filed a lawsuit against Jay-Z by a Jane Doe who claims that she was sexually assaulted by Jay-Z when she was 13 years old back in 2000. That lawsuit against him was dropped. The NBC did a report questioning the credibility of some of her claims.
I don't know, with Jay-Z sometime, I don't know. Jay-Z it seems sus with Jay-Z sometime.
His attorneys came forward and said, no, we have proof that the people you say were there weren't there. And that lawsuit was dropped. He's now being sued. That Jane Doe's being sued. You would think, okay, if this happened, I'm going to maybe take a little step back here. But to go so public and forward with allegations against a high-profile figure like Shannon Sharp, he must not only believe the account of Jane Doe, he must believe he's got the goods to back it up.
Definitely. And listen, when you're an attorney, you have wiggle room in the sense that if you have a client that's telling you what their version, you have to act reasonably, and you can't just believe someone that you may have knowledge that she suffers from psychiatric conditions, but you have a lot of leeway. Like, you have a client that's telling you, you're allowed to believe your client and you're allowed to litigate on their behalf. And obviously, there's rules in place for a lawyer not to pied piper a complete myth and sue people without a basis. But when you do have a client that's telling you what occurred, I think he has a lot of leeway in the way that he acts, simply because he has a client that's telling him, and he's allowed to believe that client. Now,
Man, this all could have been avoided. This all could have been avoided. Like I said, he should have listened to Monique, man. Should have listened.
there's limits, and apparently, regarding the Jay-Z, confronted with evidence that he couldn't refute regarding the lack of liability, then he dropped the lawsuit. If he's defending his own lawsuit, that's separate from this one. So I don't see why a guy like Busby would change his MO, so to speak, and retreat, because at the end of the day, he's making money. He's making money. He's trying to make money, and he's got insurance to defend him of lawsuits. So I don't see why he would change.
Now I want to move on to the audio.
I just want to know, like, why 50 million? Like, so, like, was she able to, like, come up with that number? Like, did she really say that she wants 50 million? That's crazy. And, like, imagine she just want 50 million. You know what I'm saying? She probably lying. You know what I'm saying? Like, nigga, 50 mil? She could just say she wants that? So if she's lying, bro, like, her ass is greedy. And what's crazy is, bro, Shannon tried to offer her 10 mil already. That's kind of sus, because he tried to offer her money for some reason. You know what I'm saying? But she declined the 10 million. You know what I'm saying? She's so confident in this, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? She was like, nah, fuck the 10 million. She thinks she could get more, so she, nigga, 50 mil. Like, Shannon was finna send her 10 up front. Like, damn.
This audio tape that was apparently released by Jane Doe's side. Now, again, this might only be a portion of the conversation, but it is a portion of this conversation, and it's important. You'll have Tony Busby saying, this is nothing fun about this. There's nothing sexual about this. This is disturbing. This is him threatening to choke her and saying she's not going to have a choice. Whereas I imagine you're going to hear...
Defense is, you have to look at the totality of the circumstances. You have to look at the relationship that we had where she was voluntarily submissive to me. And then I was, in a position where we would obtain sexual pleasure from me being...
Yeah, it is a dominance and control thing, bro. It's like, he's way older. You know what I'm saying? He's asserting that dominance onto her. You know what I'm saying? If that's just the case, you know what I'm saying? He's asserting dominance, bro. I don't think, you know what I'm saying? It's either he was trying to be harmful, bro, like, you know what I'm saying, and actually wanted to choke her, or it's like, you know what I'm saying, it's a thing of dominance, control. You know what I'm saying?
A dominant figure. That has to be his defense. But a lot of people would reject that right off the bat. Like, that's something that a lot of people are not going to stomach, are not going to understand. And he definitely has his work cut out in trying to explain to the viewing public why that type of language to a woman is appropriate. It has to be, his defense has to be that you're only looking at a small piece, but if you look at the entire relationship, that's how we would do it, and that's because she was submissive to me. People are going to reject that.
Now, I will tell you this. As this came out, I said to myself, how did they release those messages so quickly? They must have had it ready, right? You can't just have those messages. And I said to myself, did they know this was coming? Well, what do I come to find out? According to NBC, Lonnie Davis, again, Shannon Sharp, has confirmed that Sharp apparently made a financial offer to this Jane Doe to try to settle this case.
Yeah, like I said, y'all,
While it seems he first said that it was tens of millions of dollars, then clarified and said it was at least $10 million. So the idea
he tried to get that shit out the way.
They tried to get to settle it, and then she files, and now they have their messages.
It could be possible that he just wanted to give her the 10 mil, so like all this drama and like all this shit on the media would happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's either that or he's guilty. You know what I'm saying? Could be guilty, you know, of the things that she's accusing him of, and wanting to send her 10 mil. You never know, but
is ready. What does that tell you?
But like I said, how my take on it, how I feel, Shannon's definitely innocent in my eyes until, you know what I'm saying, other things is proven, because I've been seeing a lot of shit on this, y'all. I kind of been keeping up with it because I've been seeing a whole bunch of shit. As of right now, it looks like Shannon's innocent, you know what I'm saying, until proven guilty, you know what I'm saying. Obviously, if these things are true, bro, hell no, I'm not fucking with them, you know what I'm saying. Like I said, what I think he's fucked up on, though, is messing with that young ass girl, bro. That's morally not right, you know what I'm saying. You should not be messing with somebody that much younger than you, bro, you know. And you got kids too. He has daughters, you know what I'm saying. His daughters are probably like embarrassed right now, you know what I'm saying, or like whatever, you know what I'm saying. Cause like that shit is not morally right, bro. It's not illegal, but it's not morally right.
Listen, I think that's part of what Busby has been doing historically. Like they approach you and they tell you, listen, we have this. Let me know if you want to resolve this previously. I think if anybody looks at like the P. Diddy didn't do it, right? And then they filed against him and he settled the case in a day. We see the value of resolving cases. So I think it's on par with how Busby has been litigating his prior
bro
case.
And like I seen another clip of Shannon, bro. He was talking about Skybree. Most of y'all probably know who Skybree is, bro. She's an OnlyFans girl. And it's just like, bro, like, you just so freaked out, you know what I'm saying? But Unc probably a gooner, bro. You know what I'm saying? Unc probably be gooning, bro. And, like, it's just that lustful shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's just so in tune with the hoes and, like, the thoughts, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just, like, it's just overly lustful. And at that age, bro, and at his age, bro, it's dangerous to be messing around with young women like that. That's just so dangerous, bro. You know what I'm saying? I've been saying this whole video, bro. He should have just been settled down. And, like, just be, I don't know why you not, like, he's not married or nothing, bro.
To give them an opportunity. If when you look at it, yeah, settlement negotiations are usually privileged. If someone hears that he offered $10 million, what is a normal person going to think? He's guilty of something. Because people don't just, even if you're rich, don't go out there throwing around $10 million,
you're not,
millions
for
of
sure.
dollars to resolve cases.
Yeah, you're not throwing around just 10 million.
People are going to associate that offer of settlement, which they probably shouldn't, but they will. They're going to associate that offer of settlement with guilt.
Yeah.
At the time of this recording, I haven't seen Shannon Sharpe file a countersuit of any kind, but talk to me if this works. Could he countersue for defamation?
That was sus move, bro.
Litigation privilege,
that was
You're
sus.
to make claims
10 million,
somebody.
he tried to send that 10 mil up front.
Away from,
I don't know. What do y'all think? I don't know.
The other side will say it's not true. You can't just turn around and say it's defamation, right? I mean, could he sue for defamation?
Right. Well, you're right. There is a litigation privilege regarding defamation.
I feel like he can.
So I always tell people this when people ask me, can they sue?
I mean, if it's all fake, why couldn't he not sue for defamation, whatever it is, bro? Like, how can you not sue for that if all of this is fake? She's lying on this nigga. I mean, why not?
People can sue all the time. Whether or not it's going to survive a motion to dismiss, honestly, I've seen it in my career over 22 years. People sue for things that are ultimately going to get dismissed, and it doesn't affect their willingness to do it, their desire to do it. But you're right. There is a litigation privilege because I guess the mindset, the universal mindset is that you don't want to be gagging people in a court of law. You want people to have the freedom to express themselves openly without the threat of litigation while they're in litigation, and that's the entire. So to answer your question, it seems like you're right. A litigation privilege does apply, but nowadays people get sued for all kind of things.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a countersuit because, again, his perspective is this is blackmail. These are false allegations. And by the way, what's the timing of it? And by the way, when we talk about Shannon Sharpe, he's a powerhouse in the podcast space. Hosts Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, tons of followers. According to Front Office Sports, he's expected right now to sign a new contract worth more than $100 million. Do you think that comes into play at all?
So you mean to tell me, damn, he's about to sign this contract for 100 mil. Now, boom, he's finna get sued for 50. That's something to think about too, y'all. She knew this contract was coming. And you know what I'm saying? She wanted to do this. It's so much pieces to this and so much things that could be true, could be not true. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of this shit, bro, you know what I'm saying? Shannon seems innocent, bro, in a lot of ways. And you know what I'm saying? With a lot of things. But a lot of shit is looking sus, you know, like.
Hi, I'm Brett.
And I'm Jonathan.
This is Darla.
The problem with people that have those types of contracts is it doesn't have to mean that you're guilty or not guilty. Just the news in and of itself is going to affect your ability to, get followers, to do your job, and to execute contracts. Now, if he loses $100 million contract because of this, whether there's a litigation privilege or not, you can expect a lawsuit. Even if the standard for a motion to dismiss is lower than the standard for a motion for summary judgment, you could file a lawsuit. You could survive motion to dismiss, and routinely judges don't like to decide cases on summary judgment, and they often say that almost anything is an issue of fact for the jury because they know they're not going to get appealed when they make that type of ruling, and they like to kick it to a jury even if it is the type of case that shouldn't survive motion for summary judgment. So what I'm saying is that even if you have a clear defense, even if they don't have a good case, a lawsuit is still something that can be fruitful to either side.
Do you think this is going to end up settling, or is it now just too far down? How do you settle it without one side looking bad?
The problem is when you're dealing with someone like him, that his livelihood depends on the way that people view him, on whether or not people reject him or not, whether or not people are going to tune in or not. Once we're at this point where me and you are discussing it publicly, and it's out in the media, then how do you really repair his reputation? We look at like Johnny Depp, how Johnny Depp had to spend millions of dollars to sue Amber Heard, and at the end of the day, the entire lawsuit was just for him to get back whatever reputation he had, so it wouldn't affect his ability to make money in the future. So, in my opinion, I think that the genie's out of the bottle, and resolving it at this point isn't going to do anything for his reputation and his career. But you never know.
Yeah, I'm sure. And look, there could be a lot more to this as this case ultimately progresses. Mauricio Padilla, thanks so much for taking the time. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts.
That's crazy, y'all. Do you think Shannon is innocent? Let me know in the comments, man. This is like a crazy situation, Like, bro, Shannon, you gotta stop this. Bro, you gotta stop messing around with the young ones, bro. Gotta, it is what it is, bro. You is messed up for that. That is fucked up. Shorty, if she lying, she's still fucked up for that. You know what I'm saying? You don't joke around about rape and all, things like that. But if y'all did go and enjoy the video, make sure you do subscribe, like, and comment. I'll see you on the next one.